to this Stockbox interview.
George Roach, the CEO of Premier African Minerals, is with me today on Stockbox. Hello, George. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much indeed. And it's good to be chatting to you, Mark. Are you well?
Yes, very well. Thank you, George. Very well. And thank you very much for your time today. Now, we're just going to catch up on some of the latest news from the company. And that was an update you released earlier on. An update from RHA and, of course, Zulu as well. So, if we start on RHA, what is the latest that you want to update us on?
Well, the situation at RHA has been fluid, I suppose would be a a good term to use. And we embarked recently on a study which was the result of some additional test work done to see whether or not RHA could function as a standalone profitable mine based only on the underground resource that is associated with the existing vertical shaft. And having had a very careful look at the geology, having had an independent review this time on the resource, historically we've done these things internally, this time we went external for confirmation. Having had this additional test work done, and then having got Barra Consulting to do some review and some fairly detailed review of the result of the test work, it was clear to us that operating only from the existing underground shaft, RHA, with current and with forecast tungsten prices, ammonium paratungstate prices, RHA could work and could make a profit. Now, I think in the context of that, it's important to note that RHA has situated, and it's fully owned by Prem, a full-blown plant. It's sitting there. It's in care and maintenance at the moment. We have a partially developed underground resource that could be brought to production very quickly. And we have what I still believe to be significant exploration upside, such that we may very well be able to increase the surface resource in time to come and bring the XRT back into production. So all of these things were very good. But along the way, I've been clear, and I need to emphasize very, very clearly that under the present ownership structure, Premier itself cannot and will not make a funding commitment to RHA. So while Neath continues to hold 51% of this and Premier 49%, even though we've got loan accounts of more than $20 million, even though the plant is wholly owned by ourselves, we're not going to start funding the capex, the estimated capex of $2.5 million US to bring this back into production now. Premier is not going to do that, not under the existing ownership structure at all.
Okay.
Just the final thing to add on that, Mark, is that there's been significant interest, both from our existing off-taker and from some others who are very keen to talk to us about securing production of wolframite from this mine. And we're in a position where some of those parties are going to be independently reviewing the work that we've done with Barra, and who have indicated that if this stands up to their scrutiny, they would want to look to see if they can finance the mine back into production. So there are a number of opportunities for this coming back into production. None of those at this stage involve Premier putting our hand in our pocket for this. Sorry, over to you, Mark.
Okay, yeah. So when you talk about Premier not funding this and it needs to be provided by a third party, that is you've already got interest there.
Oh yes, no, we have, and there are conversations that are ongoing in regard to that, and of course we're talking to our Zimbabwean counterparts on this as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. Now, you also have completed the conceptual mine plan, haven't you? So how is that looking? Is it giving you some confidence?
In terms of RHA.
Yes.
We've been that independent with this time in terms of the resource and going out to get outside input that, yes, I have a high level of confidence in what we've said in this particular release now. I believe that that's as real as we're going to get. And frankly, it just opens the door to a whole lot more in the future. So I think there's a future for RHA. And if that's the sort of relatively conservative opinion that I can have at the moment, then I'm quite excited about it anyway. And I think that we'll make this work.
Okay. So let's now move on to Zulu, and the RNS mentioned that the drilling program has commenced at Zulu, and you remain on track with the plans to prepare the definitive feasibility study. So again, what's the latest from Zulu?
Mark, the latest from Zulu is that we have rigs turning at site. And probably the most important thing to mention is that even though COVID hasn't helped us, it hasn't been our friend at all, even though that is the case, there's nothing at this stage in relation to the work ongoing at Zulu that indicates any extension to the original forecast timeline for completion of the DFS. So, I'm quietly confident that we're very much on track. The other good thing that's happening is that we are extending our exploration activity now into the much larger EPO area. And we're about to fly some airborne remote sensing over the area. And we have appointed additional exploration teams whose sole function is going to be to explore wherever there is any prospectivity, and we believe there is some decent prospectivity within that expanded EPO area, simultaneous with the ongoing drilling and the ongoing DFS work associated with Zulu.
Okay. And you've also got, you say, lab equipment as well that's on its way. Is that something is that like an on-site lab so you can conduct some assays on site?
Absolutely. The intention is that, and it's mainly driven by time and logistical issues, is that it's much easier to do as much of this lab sample prep work and so on at site than it is to try and bring this out of Zimbabwe and to other labs wherever they may be. That does not mean that there will not be check assays that will be done internationally. And it also does not mean that the metallurgical test work associated with developing the flow sheet for Zulu will be done at Zulu at site. That's not going to happen. Compilation of the samples, yes. We haven't finally decided who will do the flow sheet development and the metallurgical recovery test work, but we are out talking to the labs that we think have that capability, and we should be able to finalize that appointment probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay. And just a final thought from you, George. What, in your opinion, would be the key catalyst here, the key value-generating moment for Premier and shareholders?
Well, I think there are quite a few of those. Not the least of them is going to be as we are able to see expansion coming out of the exploration program and better definition of our resource at Zulu. I think that if you go back to the scoping study, it's clear from that scoping study looked at a cut down portion of the declared resource. Now, part of the intention of the ongoing exploration at the moment is to be able to expand that resource, better understand it, better define it, and ultimately be able to optimize those parts of the resource that we can efficiently and cost effectively mine. So I think that's going to be a very significant driver as we go forward. But I don't think it's the only one. I think that, just touching back on RHA, I can't forecast the future there, but if one of those that is talking to us very seriously about RHA comes through with the financing that is needed, that could be operating pretty quickly. And then, of course, there are other projects that Prem has as well, not the least of which is our manganese in Namibia and so on.
Okay, well, George Roach, the CEO of Premier African Minerals, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you indeed, Mark.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.